excuse me, the market system creates variety, and people assume that A, they don't have the freedom to engage the market if they wanted to, and B, that the type of variety in goods wouldn't exist. Both of these are fallacies when you have an automated system that can organize both attributes, meaning it's a computerized system of interaction, and people volunteer their time to engage it. In the most intense situations I've been in advertising and all the jobs I've had, uh, at the end of the day, there's an excitement that exists within the process of creation itself. It might be completely pointless in the sense of designing an ad for something, but people aren't just sitting there thinking about their dollar signs. When people get in the act of creativity, something takes over. And you see ego battles, see people that really want something. That's not necessarily a good thing, but it does go to show that money is not the ultimate incentive. When people are given the freedom to engage in society and to think creatively, they will pair in and work with teams that can create new technologies because they want to, because it benefits them as well. This system of accumulation of resources and design will be pinged against an artificial intelligence system that manages resources and has a database of information and knowledge. And then from there, it's spawned, and the distribution centers, production centers, extraction, all of that becomes self-evident and oscillated based on demand. Demand is very easy to assess. This is why the Mises economic calculation problem is so absurd and idiotic, is because it doesn't seem to understand that demand can be calculated through just simple participation. People can think, they can be creative about what they need. Utility and necessity will always be there. It's always been there, even long before the market system, with the invention of tools to help improving our lives and easing our lives. It didn't take money to learn how to make rocks, make rocks. It didn't take money to learn how to make tools out of rocks, to eventually morph that into metals, refine them for different purposes. This is a natural element of our creativity. So I've jumped around here a little bit again, but the market system doesn't enable creativity. It stifles it more than anything else, and that's up for a larger conversation, but it's very, very true. It's limiting in its effects holistically. If you can only imagine for a moment how robust our society would be with both material goods and its sense of responsibility and the dignity of interaction, my God. There's another one. The dignity of interaction. When I worked with Wall Street stuff and I worked in advertising and even certain musical things I did for years, there was such a loss of dignity because of the conformist notion and what you're doing just for monetary purposes for survival. What you're doing to meet the profile of a particular market. Because you're not actually engaging when you deal with marketing. You're not actually looking for utility. You're looking to exploit weaknesses of character. You're looking to exploit all this stuff that will enable a lifestyle context for people to want a particular good or anything else. I mean, how much stuff can Apple come out with? We have the iPad, the iPod, the iPhone. What else can they possibly come up with which will create a necessity for the population? This is a cultural issue that needs to be thought about because it's not healthy. In the words of George Carlin, there's too many choices, America. It's not healthy. So anyway, you get the point. Actually, before I forget, it just popped in my mind. There's a film called Psy Wars. I do suggest people watch Psy Wars. It's free online. It's a compilation work, but it's good to understand where marketing came from if you're not familiar with the difference of the paradigm today versus before World War II. We talked about this in the Activist Orientation Guide, how consumption had doubled since World War II because of the necessity to basically create more, to create false values to generate more money. Again, the market system thrives on cyclical turnover. We probably could have had the beginnings of a resource-based economy after World War II in abstraction because the basic necessities of people were being met. I mean, imagine that paradigm shift where people have their necessities met and they say, well, you can choose freedom, meaning lots of free time and creative interests, or you can choose to create false values to keep this market system going, to keep you employed. These are dividing lines that have continually come up, and now we're far on the other side, and a very fictitious reality, if you will, as far as what we think we need and want, and how we relate to the external, all because of this system. So, okay, I think I've belabored that, and yeah, I'm going to do some questions now. But actually, before I do that, let me just quickly say regarding civil unrest. We're seeing a lot of civil unrest out there, and I want everyone to try their best, if they see this around them, to not engage in any type of actual destruction, but to really inform those that are engaging this about a new possibility and the demanding of this possibility. The future protests of the world, I think, will be about demanding a specific change, not getting angry and having temper tantrums because of the price of oil or because of unemployment or because of collapse or austerity. These are, understandable to be angry about, but this is a product of a system that we've all been participating in, so we're all to blame on some level. So everyone needs to step up and realize this type of change and the solution that's promoted and communicate that to others. Okay, so I'm going to jump into questions now. Number one, Peter, what are your thoughts on the Zeitgeist Indie Fest? There was a post on the forum regarding a concept where each chapter would engage in their own projects to create, say, their own film or something to that effect. It was, I think, if you search Zeitgeist Indie Fest on the forum, you might find this. And I think, I'm all for anything the chapters put their heads together to do. We have the unified events, town halls, Z-Days, Zeitgeist Media Festival. Really, the independence of the chapters to come up with novel ideas is exactly what they should be doing. It's not uniform, meaning like if you can't do Z-Day, you can't do it if you don't have the facilities to do the media festival. But I like the Zeitgeist Indie Fest as denoted. Again, it's just another example of many things that people can be doing. Number two, what's the status of that nonprofit organization you mentioned several shows back? That was the think tank I mentioned earlier about design, and it's still in process, so I'm still working with that. There's a lot of other things in the back burner that are going to need to happen first before we begin that type of work. That's an extremely large and complicated project, formerly known as From Earth to Venus. Number three, how's Z4 coming along? What's the overall intention behind the film? Well, I don't really want to talk about that too much, but Zeitgeist 4 in general will be about one person's evolution to coming to terms with the values that are needed to sustain life, human life, and it's done through the same type of gestural documentary / live action. So there's a gestural live action section paired in. There'll be a new female hero character that will take on a different status.